Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're here with Tinsley again. Tinsley is a fairly new member of our farm, and she's here to demonstrate the broken gene. The gene that gives us all this white and separates itself from the dominant color of your rabbit. So she is a broken harlequin. If you hear moaning, that's Tequila being annoyed that she can't play with the bunny right now because we're filming the bunny. You have to wait. Anyway, so we're talking about the broken gene today. Shh, Tequila, no. No. Sorry, she's being annoying. She wants to play with the bunny. You have to wait. So, Tinsley here is an example of a broken. Okay? All this white, but she still has her base color. She is a harlequin. Okay? So she's got that harlequin color, which means she is black, okay? She's got the black. So her base color is black. But that black is moved around the body by the extension gene, the EH. So she is a harlequin. However, she also carries the broken gene. Now, the broken genes are separate from the extension genes. Okay? They're not part of the E series. They have their own spot on the genetic code. So we use the letters EN to represent the broken series. I know it doesn't make any sense, but we couldn't use B because we already used B for the base color. Are you black or are you brown? So we couldn't use B. So we also can't use E because it's not really an extension gene, even though it moves color around the body. It's not an extension gene. It's separate from the extension. So we settled on EN. Why not? So the EN gene is broken. It's responsible for this white pattern. So the broken gene is dominant. If you have one copy of the broken gene, you are broken. And you can tell by looking at a rabbit which combination of genes they have. This is one of those that you don't have to investigate because you can tell by looking at them. Because if you have no copies of the broken gene, you're a solid. Now, I happen to be a real fan of the broken genes, so you'll notice I have a lot of broken lops. But my girl Gemini is a solid black tort. No, she's not. She's a solid black otter. Okay, so she is solid color, and she's a black otter rabbit. She has no broken. That means she does not carry a copy of the broken gene. She is recessive all the way. 2 little ENs. Okay, that's Gemini. You move on to someone like my Capricorn. He has only one copy of the broken gene. So he's got a big EN and a little EN. And how do I know that? I know that because he's a standard broken. He is 50% color or more. So you look at this rabbit, she has less than 50% color. Okay, she's more than 50% white. Capricorn and Libra are both more than 50% color. Okay, that's kind of our dividing line. If you have 50% color or more, you're a standard broken rabbit. If you have less than 50% color, like Tinsley here, like Celeste, so I have 2 standard brokens and 2 like this, you are a Charlie. It means you carry 2 copies of the broken gene. So basically what happens is the broken gene acts on the broken gene and it makes you more broken. You have far less color. So her biggest spot of color is here on her back. Okay, that's how you can definitely tell what color she is. But she also has some color on her face. We'll just turn. She also has some color on her face and a little spot here and there on her ears. Okay, she's really cute. But she definitely carries 2 copies of the broken gene. Because those 2 colors, those 2 genes are acting on each other, making her very, very, very broken. So this gene, if you want it out of your gene pool, so I love it. I work with broken. Hi, Tequila. Hi. I know you love a bunny. I know. If you hear moaning in the background, she just wants to play with the bunny. She loves bunnies. You can play after I film. Yeah, you can play after. But, yes, I know. Now, I love the broken gene, obviously. Out of the lops I have, I only have 1 solid color. I really like broken. I am going to work to have a couple more solids in my gene pool just because solids are really pretty. I just happen to love brokens. But if you want broken out of your gene pool, it can be easy to get rid of because you can see it, but it can also be a little heartbreaking because someone like her, if you want broken out of your gene pool, you can't breed her. Okay, now I love broken, so obviously I am going to breed her because I love the broken gene and I love Tinsley. And we adore this girl. However, if I didn't want broken in my genes anymore, I could not breed her because she will only ever throw a broken gene. She has 2 copies. She's a Charlie. Okay, Charlie means you're more than 50% white. Because she's a Charlie, she cannot throw a solid. It's just not in her genetics. So then what I end up doing is not breeding her if I don't want any brokens. If you have a standard broken, like my Capricorn or my Libra, you can breed them together and get a solid. Okay, so if you have one big EN and one little EN, you're going to throw one of them 50% of the time, roughly. Okay, we'll talk about how those numbers work in a later video, but roughly 50% of the time. Okay, that means if you breed a standard broken to a standard broken, you will get about 25% solids because each broken does carry a solid gene. Okay, so you will get 50% standard brokens and you'll get about 25% Charlies is how that's going to work. Because to get solid, you have to inherit 2 copies, and that's harder because you have to inherit 1 copy from each parent. So you only have about a 25% chance. You're more likely to inherit, just spitballing the numbers, you're more likely to inherit 1 solid gene and 1 broken gene from your parents if both your parents are brokens. If your parents are Charlies, you're only going to get brokens. You're only going to get Charlies. If you breed one Charlie to another Charlie, they're all going to be Charlies. So if I bred her to another rabbit that has mostly white and only a little bit of color, that's another Charlie, then they would all be Charlies. If I bred her to Capricorn, I would end up with mostly Charlies. So probably, because she's going to throw a Charlie all of the time. Okay? She's literally going to throw a Charlie all of the time because that's all she can throw. She's going to throw that broken gene. He's going to throw a broken gene about 50% of the time. So I'll get about 50% broken. And I do intend to breed her to Capricorn. So I'll end up with about 50% standard brokens and 50% Charlies. Okay? So I anticipate that. I'm going to get some brokens, some Charlies. And that's pretty normal. If you breed 2 solids together, you can never get a broken. They just don't carry the genetics. So if you do want broken in your herd, but you don't want as much white as this, you want less white. I happen to love white. I work with blue-eyed whites. I work with the Vienna gene. I obviously love white. But if you don't, but you still want the broken gene, but not as much white as she has, you want regular brokens. And if you breed a regular broken to a solid, stay here. But stay here. You can't go play yet. But if you breed a regular broken, like Capricorn, to a rabbit like Gemini, who does not carry a broken gene, you are going to end up with about 50% broken, which is typically what we get when we breed Gemini to Capricorn. We do not get Charlies out of that breeding because Gemini cannot throw a broken gene. She doesn't have one. So if you want to avoid Charlies, your best option is to breed a standard color rabbit, no broken, to a standard broken rabbit. Okay, avoid having a Charlie and only breed those 2 together because then you'll get about half and half, solid and broken. Now, it's not exactly half and half. We'll talk about those numbers in a different video. But every time I say that, people come out with, well, I had a litter that was all solids. Yes, that happens. That's the way genetics work. We're just talking percentage chance. But we will talk about that in detail in a separate video. However, before you get into breeding rabbits, decide if you want broken in your gene pool and decide if you want a Charlie. So she is gorgeous. Okay, she is gorgeous. Look at that face. She's a gorgeous rabbit, but she has a lot of white. If you don't want this much white, then you probably don't want Charlies. So think about what you want before you get into breeding rabbits. And if you don't want this much white, breed a broken to a solid. Then you'll never get a Charlie. Okay, so decide what you want in your herd. I love you. Decide what you want in your fluffle of rabbits and make sure you are breeding to accommodate that. One final thing about the pattern that you see. So the pattern of your brokens. As far as anyone can tell, it is not predictable. So breeders have been trying for decades to get a broken pattern that reproduced reliably. So you could control the actual pattern. So you could control, I want color around the eyes, I want stripes of color here, I want my harlequin to break up like this, you can't actually do that. So I could breed 2 rabbits with very similar broken markings. So if I bred 2 Charlies that had markings exactly like this, there's a good chance I'm not going to repeat this pattern. This stripe of color could end up over here. It could end up broken up into smaller dots all around her body. There's no way to predict it. So breeders have been trying for decades to reliably reproduce a specific pattern. It has not yet happened. It's because that pattern, as far as we can tell, the pattern of your broken, the way the white breaks up the color, is not predictable. It is not inheritable. It just is what it is, and it just shows up on the coat. Okay, you can kind of look at your babies to see where they have the color broken up. And you'll kind of see the pattern they have, and they won't be like mama. You might occasionally get one that's similar, but as far as we can tell, each broken up pattern is beautiful and unique, and it does not reproduce. It's kind of like fingerprints. My fingerprints aren't like yours. So her specific pattern, the way she's got a little dot of color here, the way she's got this, the way she's got this little cute T-spot, that's really cute. There's a little heart on her side here. So the way all of that comes together, you're never going to see another rabbit that has exactly that pattern. It's as unique as fingertips, as your fingerprints. Okay? Incredibly unique, incredibly special, and you're not going to be able to reproduce the pattern. But you will get beautiful, unique, and lovely patterns each time you breed your brokens. Just remember to only start working with the broken gene if you truly love all this white in your herd. We obviously do. I absolutely adore broken lobs. They're absolutely beautiful creatures. Anyway, that is about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. I hope you learned a little bit about the broken gene and how it works. We'll see you tomorrow.